My name is Ruchir. I run a company called Langoor, but that's not something I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about, what's fascinating about Vibewire. So I've been here before, and can I just say, it's amazing how it's grown so well from March last year when I first spoke to what it is now. What is fascinating about this space is the diversity it brings together, and sorry to spoil the fun in the morning, there were some really positive talks. I'm going to talk about something a lot more serious. Over the past 2 years, I've had a fascinating journey through a topic that had a lot to do with timing in the way I got involved. A lot of you must have heard about the international students issue or the Indian students issue back in 2009. For some of you may not know, basically a few Indian students were attacked by various people, and it got reported as racism in India. I was essentially the president of the University of Sydney Union when this issue was brought up, and being the only international Indian student president of a student organization in the country, for obvious reasons, I was talking to a lot of media. Essentially, my role was to justify the attacks to the Indian media, but at the same time justify the crazy Indian media to the Australians. In that process, what was most fascinating to me was how the point was being missed across the debate. What you found happening was everyone was extremely defensive together about racism. I think, not to dilute the problem itself, there were certain instances where racism was a problem, there were certain instances where racism was not. When racism was a problem, it not just affected the Indian students, it affected the society as a whole. But I think the root of the problem lied somewhere much deeper. It was to do with the education system in Australia and the way it evolved. Stepping back and thinking about the bigger picture and what was going on, you found out that Australia, the way it set up the way people got education with its skills shortage or skill migration program, there were a lot of people popping up who were promoting education as a permanent residency factory. That was the first problem. Education had no quality assurance anymore. The second problem was of security. A lot of these students coming in to migrate to Australia, fair enough, great country, were coming with not a lot of money. They're working really, really long hours, finding themselves in vulnerable situations, and there were governments not really paying a lot of attention to the needs of this massive inflow of people with no infrastructure to support them. And at the end of the day, the system that people who put it together were so proud of was failing at levels that people didn't see coming. No one put their brains together to think about whether this was working 10 years on. A lot of circumstances changed. People had found holes to make the system work for themselves. So you found essentially a bipolar Australia when the reaction happened. There was the Victorian government, which was being represented by the Indian media, where a lot of people were not talking to each other. So collectively, various departments were defensive about whether it was racism or not. No one was thinking about the issue itself. Whereas the New South Wales government, which was at the time doing an incredible job with Nathan Rees, there's the Indian Consul General, Community Relations Commission head, all these people got together, went directly to the students, started talking to them, identified problems, addressed them. But no one reported that. And you found like a stark difference in people actually getting together and solving the problem and people not, who didn't. Since then, essentially Australia's had a big dent in its third largest export, education. It lost billions of dollars. More than 50% of Indian students stopped coming. A lot of other countries had that flow-on effect. And you've come to this situation where this wonderful country, I've had an incredible time here, a lot of people are missing out on the opportunity of what this beautiful place has to offer. It's fascinating when you think ahead what you can achieve. I mean, since then, not only a fair few programs have been put into place, even at a personal level, I've been working on programs looking at assimilating a lot of students who come in, so I created something called the Australia-India Business Council Young Professionals. Now I'm working on a bit of a higher level Australia-India Youth Dialogue to look at how we can bring together young people and interact. I know that. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. And interact at a level where it actually has an impact on the ground and long run. I think essentially the question I wanted to leave people with today, it's not what happens when you work together, how can you improve things, but what happens when you don't. Thank you very much.